Okay, great. Okay. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. Thanks to Digital Sussex for having me. Great team over there. Thanks, Sarah, and everybody else. But also a massive thanks as well to everybody attending today. I know what an important role you all have, and how taking an hour out to do anything is a major commitment. So a big thank you for that as well. This is what we're going to. No, it's not, because I can't get it to work. Ah, there we go. There we go. So this is what we're going to go through today. We're going to talk a little bit about what healthcare providers are telling us, what's going on in their care homes. And we'll tell you a little bit about us and what we do and why we do it. And then what we'll do is we'll drill down into the subject matter of fall prevention and detection. Happy to take questions as we go through. No issue with that at all. If anyone's got any questions before we start, then if you want to pop them in the chat now, and then what we'll do is we'll try and address them as we go through, or I'll kind of get to it at the end, and we'll address any that haven't been covered. So, any questions? No?
Don't think so.
Right then. So we'll make a start. Okay, so we've been working with care providers now for a couple of years, and what they're telling us is that it's not getting any easier, I think, is the general message. All of you want more time so you can spend it with the residents in the care home. You'd all like less administration. Some of the care home owners and managers would like less costs, but I think you all collectively would like to be able to provide better care. So that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about increasing costs, increasing complexity, the challenges of nurse call systems, and how you could get more time back to provide care to your residents. Is that fair? Is that okay with everybody? Okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm answering on behalf of everybody because we've muted everybody, Graham.
Well, there's a chat box, so okay, but that's fine, Sarah. I'm okay with that.
I'm keeping an eye on it. Yeah,
Good. Okay, great. If there's anything then, Sarah, just shout out.
will do.
All right, great. So this is our claim. So we've been working in this sector now for a few years, and this is the evidence that we're collecting as we move forward, which is it's about giving about 30% more staff time back to residents. It's about reducing falls. So in some instances, we're seeing an 80% reduction in falls. And also looking at all of the tech stack that's within a provider, there's about a 75% cost saving across all of that, which is possible. But ultimately, what we want to try and do with all of that is pull it together, and so you can make better use of your time. So what we've got at the end of the webinar, if you hang on till the end, we've got an amazing offer which is available to everybody on the call today, and to anyone who's working with Digital Sussex as well. So we'll get to that. We think the call today will last 30 to 45 minutes max. And we can answer questions within that as well. But if we're okay to move on, then I'll move forward. So the reason we're doing this is because of my parents. So a bit of a story here. So my parents were typical 1930s kids. They grew up in Liverpool. They worked really hard. My mom held down possibly 3 jobs at a time. My dad, he worked night shifts, so we didn't really see them. Family of 3, 2 boys and a girl. Lots of issues there, as you can imagine. But then when it came to the time that they retired, they went into a care home, and that should have been their time. That should be the time for them to relax and kind of enjoy their life now that we'd all left and kind of got on with ours. but that didn't turn out to be the case. So my mum, she had a fall, fracture her ankle. Um, she would have bled out if someone hadn't have heard her screaming in agony. Um, there was pull cords in the care home, but she couldn't get to them. Um, as a result of that fall, she later developed reduced mobility, breathing issues, and then eventually passed away. My dad, he liked to drink. He was a bit bigger. He liked to drink. He got diabetes. He fell. He was down for several hours and he had a long lie, which took him into hospital. He developed complications. And within 6 months of that fall, he was also dead. So yeah, so for us, the saddest thing of all of that is we never really got a chance to tell them that we appreciated everything that they did for us. And for me, my team and I, we realized that the seriousness of falls. And we know falls, if they don't kill you at the fall, they destroy your confidence. They reduce your mobility. And if they don't get you straight away, they're going to get you kind of later on. So these are some of the sad facts about people who fall in the UK. And that's why we set up Alters Healthcare a couple of years ago, because in talking to the care home, I kept asking the question, how has this happened? How has this happened? And I actually felt sorry for the staff, because even though they wanted to help, they couldn't they couldn't have done more, I don't think. And I just kept looking for an answer, thinking there's got to be a better way to deal with falls. There's got to be a better way to deal with falls. And and that's where we kind of came up with this mission. So we found the Nobi system, and our mission now is to get a Nobi installed in every room in the UK, so every resident can live safer, longer, and without fear of a fall. And that's why we're here. That's why we're presenting today, and that's why we're out there talking to people about the Nobi system, really. So the issues with detecting a fall is, as we've seen, and I think we all know, that the traditional systems out there are not great. So if you don't fall by a cord, you can't pull it. If a resident falls of an evening, then there's possibly up to 2 hours that they're down on the floor. And we know what a long lie can do for people. For you, for the staff, every unwitnessed fall means at least 4 hours of administration for senior care staff. While you're doing that, you're not spending time with residents, with care plans, and with junior staff, training them. And from a compliance perspective, the CQC and relatives in adult care, they've got no evidence about what actually happened, only hearsay. So with my parents, I only had kind of secondhand explanations of what was going on. So when a care plan is changed, what the CQC are looking for, they're looking for quantifiable evidence. Why did you change that care plan? And in a lot of instances, that's not there. And all of this wrapped together means that you're lost in administration. You can't spend time with residents, and it means that patient reviews and care plans can fall behind. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to address all of those things. So we know nurse call systems don't detect falls, but a lot of care homes that we're talking to at the moment, they're spending a lot of money upgrading those nurse call systems. So one care home in Sheffield last week, they were telling me it's £2,000 per room to upgrade their nurse call system. Which is it's a massive cost. Other systems on the market, every system will provide some level of assurance, right? So I'm not saying don't buy other systems, but generally radar systems, when they're used, there's a lot of effort to set up. The room has got to be measured and everything's got to be recorded in that software. If anything has changed in the room, you've got to go back in, remap that room and reconfigure the software. Pressure mats are in themselves a trip hazard, and also they're not that cheap. We've seen some clients spending nearly £400 on pressure mats. And of course, none of those things that we've discussed help of an evening. So, 80% of falls happen of an evening because it's the evening, right? The lights are off, or it's dim, or it's dark. The resident can't see where they're going when they go in the bathroom, and they trip and they fall. And none of the existing technology will really help with that. And then of an evening, if you've got a 2-hour inspection around the rooms, really all that does is serve to disrupt the residents' sleep. And if you disrupt their sleep, it means they're not getting the sleep they need, which means in the day they're disorientated. And all of that just actually increases the risk of a fall. So all of these things pulled together mean potentially a massive cost. So, £3,100 per room. Buying small disparate systems that don't work together, that means that you're a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. And we often see that the systems are not generally used, or not used as well as they could be. And all of these other systems, they can actually result in an increase in falls because of trip hazards. So the existing technology, it's not great. So, speaking to care homes, speaking to relatives, speaking to the CQC, having a look at what technology was out there on the market. When we came across Nobi, we just thought this will fix all of these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to Nobi now. I'll play a video, the sound with the video. If you can't hear the sound, please let Sarah know and she'll tell me, and I can walk you through the video as it plays. But otherwise, if you can hear the sound, it's about a minute long. It's like a quick introduction to Nobi, and then we'll stop the video, and then I'll go into some stuff in more detail, if that's okay with everybody.
Meet Nobi, designed for fall prevention, detection, and happy living. A lamp powered by advanced artificial intelligence. Nobi and its smaller sibling Nobita overlook every room from a central vantage point. Nobi works well at home, in hospitals, and has been installed successfully in several care homes. Linda, 72 years old, lives in a nursing home. Nobi is there for Linda throughout the day. Nobi detects that Linda fell and asks,
"Linda, did you fall?"
If the answer isn't no, Nobi sends a notification to a nurse. In the app, Nobi shows an abstract image of Linda's position to respect her privacy. The nurse sees that Linda fell and immediately communicates that she is on the way to help. Nobi also helps prevent falls. At night, when Linda gets out of bed, Nobi lights up her path to avoid disorientation. Detection of changes in sleep and behavioral patterns help caregivers spot problems early on. During the day, the lamp gives Linda a weather forecast and adjusts lighting to support her daily routine. Nobi comes with a built-in air quality monitor.
Okay, so the lamp has a truckload of additional functionality not related to fall detection. So it can take information from scales, blood pressure monitors, all of that information. It can pull it together, and then it can drop it directly into your digital social care record. So all of that functionality is very helpful. It's very handy, and it does eliminate a lot of administration, and it can drop it directly into the digital social care record. So that's good to know, and that's good functionality. But what I want to do today is stay focused in on the fall detection element of Nobi, if that's okay. So the thing about Nobi is it's a lamp, and I know it sounds really stupid, but actually it's a lamp, right? So if you've got a light in a room, you just replace the light in the room with a Nobi unit. If you've got a light in a bathroom, then you replace it with a system called a Nobita, which is just a small Nobi unit. To put a Nobi in, it takes 15 minutes. And what's interesting about that is most other systems on the market, you've either got to plug them into a wall, which leaves a trailing cable, or you've got to channel out the wall and run new cables, which is really expensive and highly disruptive for the residents as well. The thing about the Nobi being a lamp as well is that for those patients with dementia, it's a lamp. They're more familiar with a lamp than they are something which is flashing on a wall, which would be a radar detection system or something similar, and a pressure mat, which they can often mistake for a hole in the floor. So it's really helpful in the dementia care settings as well. The other thing is you can see the diagram on the right-hand side. It's got a red line from the bed to the bathroom. So when a fall happens of a night, what Nobi does, which no other system does, is it has artificial intelligence built in and it learns the behavior of the residents. So it learns how they live in their room. So when somebody sits up of a night, Nobi will raise the lights ever so slightly so that they can orientate themselves. If they begin to get out of bed, it will raise the lights fully to eliminate any risk of a trip or a fall to the bathroom. And when they come back to bed and get in bed, it will lower the lights so that the person can go back to sleep without having to mess about with light switches. The other thing it does is throughout all of those instances, sitting up, getting out of bed, going to the bathroom, coming back from the bathroom, getting in bed, all of that information is alerted. If you want an alert, you can get an alert on all of that. And you can also time and date stamp those alerts so you can see what the resident is doing in the room. So at the very basic level, it's a lamp. But what Nobi does as well, which no other system does, is it learns behavior. So it understands what a fall is. Most of the fall detection systems on the market, you have to fall on the floor like an Olympic diver. You've got to properly take a header and smack into the floor. Nobi, because it's got artificial intelligence, it knows what normal behavior is, therefore it knows what abnormal behavior is, and it knows what a fall is. So if they're sat in a chair and begin to slouch and fall, that's a fall. If they're on the bed and begin to slip off the bed, that's a fall. If they do trip over and take a header, well, that's also a fall. And in all of those instances, it will record the fall and it will alert on that fall. So what I'll do now is I'll talk a little bit about that functionality in terms of how it does that and why we think it's unique. So this is the functionality of Nobi. What it does, when it detects a fall, it begins to take a video. It takes a video before the fall, so you can see what is happening before the fall happens. It records the fall, so you can see what happened during the fall. And it also records after the fall, so it will record your carer attending to the person when they've had a fall. The way this works is that it alerts when somebody has fell, and it alerts within 30 seconds. So again, unlike other systems, within 30 seconds, you know someone has had a fall, which is really quick. The other thing it does is when it detects a fall, it asks the person, Sarah, have you fallen? If it doesn't get the answer no, it will begin an escalation procedure where it will open up escalations, alerts, and calls to the care staff, which you've configured. So what it will do is it will call a care staff, and the care staff can answer that call and open up a dialogue with the resident, no matter how far away they are from that resident. And that's hugely comforting for the resident when they've fallen, because they know somebody knows I'm fallen, somebody is on the way, I'm going to get help soon. So that two-way dialogue, which no other system will give you, is really, really helpful as well. plus the video evidence of a fall. So you can't see it because it's at the top of the screen here, but that video evidence, it's the only system on the market that will give you quantifiable video evidence of a fall or a potential fall, so that when you change a care plan, you've got evidence of why you've changed that care plan. So it eliminates pull cords, pressure mats, nurse call systems, other fall detection systems are all eliminated through the Nobi. It's also a lamp. So you have a lamp in the room, and you have all of this audit detail in terms of date and time stamps about who has attended a call, when the call happened, was the call escalated, how long did that take, who answered the escalation. So it's got a full audit trail with it as well. And this can be used on any handset. So whether you've got a PCS system, a LeCare system, whether you're on Apple or Android, whether it's a tablet or a laptop or a phone, it doesn't matter. It can integrate with all of those things as well. So it's just an amazing system, basically. But if we come back to where we opened it in terms of how does it give you more time with residents, how does it reduce costs, how does it do all of those things, then we'll talk a little bit about that now. So what I'll do is, as we're talking through, I'll tell you about some things that have happened recently with some of our care homes that we've been working with. So we had a care home up in the north of England. I was there week before last, and they were telling me that they had an end-of-life patient in the home. They'd asked the relatives if they could install bars on the bed, and the relatives had said no. And then shortly afterwards, the residents had had a fall, which Nobi had detected and alerted on. So they called the relatives and asked the relatives to come in. And the relatives had suggested that the care hadn't been what they expected and that they might take some action against the care home. So when we looked at how Nobi records a fall, it records it in 3 different ways. It can record it just alerts, so no video image at all. It can record it as a GDPR compliant image, which is just a stick figure of the fall. But it can also record it as the real image, so just as the person in the room having a fall. Most of our clients have it in GDPR mode, where if there is a fall, you just get an image of the stick figure rather than the real person. But in the event you want to investigate a fall, you can flip it so that you can see the image of the person. So in this case, the care home had asked the relatives' permission to do that, and they'd reviewed the fall together. And what they saw was that the resident was lying on top of the duvet on bed. They'd reached across to get something, and as they'd reached across, the duvet had slipped off the bed and the resident had fallen. So luckily there was no trauma, there was no breaks. The resident was just a little bit shaken up. But because they'd viewed that image together and seen how that had happened, and the care home had reminded them that they'd asked them to put bars on the bed and the relative had refused, then it prevented a lot of reporting a potential legal case and also a CQC investigation. So all of that was prevented in 15 minutes, which for the care home was massive. And that's the power of the Nobi system. The other thing that's really, really useful is sleep and activity monitoring. So what you can see here is, this is a dashboard that shows you how a resident is sleeping of an evening. So the grey bars are the person in the room. The green bars are when they're in bed. And the red bar is when they're up out of bed. So what you can see here is you can see the total time that they've been asleep for. You can see what time they went to bed. But you can also begin to see patterns in disrupted sleep as well. So we had a case with a care home provider in the Midlands. What had happened was they'd had a fall of an evening. When we went in and had a look at the dashboard with them, we saw that there'd been an escalation of the person getting out of bed. So they were getting out of bed once, then twice, and then over many, many nights, they were up quite a lot. And each time they were up, it got longer and longer and longer. Eventually, it led to a fall. So this sleep and activity monitoring, it's really helpful for proactively preventing falls from happening. And this data is available as standard within the software that comes with Nobi as well. So that was the case study that we were just talking about there. And then the third case is we had a care home down in Worthing, and they were telling me that there are a couple of residents that were falling over frequently. They were unwitnessed falls. And with a lot of those, there's a potential safeguarding issue. So when we install the Nobi, when the resident would come and say, we've had a fall, they were able to go back and take a look at that fall. What they found is that one person was saying that they'd fallen. As they'd fallen, they'd hit the wall, or they'd hit the sideboard, or they'd hit their head on the floor. And it was taking up a lot of the senior care staff time to go and reassure that person, change the care plan, reconfigure the room, and write up all of those reports. But when they reviewed the footage on the Nobi system, what they found was actually the person was just getting up out of a chair, walking to the nurse's station and telling them that they'd had a fall, purely so that they could get some social interaction from the care staff. So it completely eliminated hours and hours and hours of administration time. But what they were able to do was sit down and talk to that resident and explain they knew what had happened and give them just a little bit more kind of love to stop all of that from happening. So these are the powers of the features of Nobi, and that additional contact time, that time not doing administration, that's all useful time that they now use for other things. So what this means for you is that when a fall's not a fall, no paperwork. So straight away, that's a win. It gives you the increased contact time with residents, which is great. It gives the senior staff more time to spend with the residents, with junior staff, improving care plans rather than filling out administration. Better sleep for residents means, well, better sleep for residents and less risk of a fall the following day. For care home providers, it's better management of sleeping nights or walking nights or whatever your practices are. And with all of this, because you can look at video footage and modify care plans and get early alerts on a number of things, it means there's an up to 80% reduction in falls. And that's quite a consistent number. It's not a one-off. It's quite a consistent number. And in reducing all of that, you're reducing all of the administration with it, which means you can get up to 30% more contact time with those residents as well. The Nobi system can also act as a nurse call system. So if you've got a nurse call system, it can save 50% on your nurse call hardware costs. And if you're using multiple other disparate fall detection systems on top of that, then all of those costs bundled together, there's about a 75% reduction in all of those costs. So as well as giving better comfort to residents about their environment and their risks of falls, as well as giving you more time back to spend with residents, there is also the possibility of saving significant costs in hardware that you can use for other things. So all around, there's a lot of benefits for everybody involved when Nobi is used. So these are the numbers we're kind of sticking by. So we're looking at 75% cost reduction in hardware. We're looking at increased contact time with residents of up to 30%, and reduction of falls up to 80%. So for those of you that stayed on the call, I said there was a special offer for those who were involved today, and for those who are working with Digital Sussex on DSCR projects or others. So what I'd like to do now is go through that with you. So because there's now a lot of Nobi systems being installed across the UK, the original price last year was £14.99 a unit. This year, we're offering it to Digital Sussex clients for £8.99. So that's a £600 saving per unit, which is 40%, which is it's a huge reduction. It's actually more than the ICB funding that was provided last year for care home providers. For those of you who are looking at upgrading or installing a new nurse call system, the Nobi system is about £200 per room versus £2,000 per room. So that's a massive £1,800 saving. That's almost 90%, right? That's significant. So that's a total saving of £2,400 per room. What we're also going to do as well is we're going to throw these things in for free. So in order for Nobi to work properly, it must have a good Wi-Fi connection. So what we're going to do is we're going to offer a free Wi-Fi survey to everybody who takes part. So we would normally charge around £4,000 for that. We're going to offer that for free. So that's a £4,000 saving, which is 100% cost saving for you. And then all of the things we've talked about in terms of the GDPR compliance, the checklist, the letters, the training around of that, the training of the systems. Last year, we were charging £2,000 for that. This year, for those of you on the call or involved with Digital Sussex on other projects, then we can offer you that free as well. So that's a £2,000 saving or 100% cost saving on that cost. So as an example, if you've got a 60-bed care home, that's £150,000 worth of cost savings that can be made, as well as giving you the 80% reduction in falls and the 30% increased contact time with your residents as well. So all of that, it's up to you how you want to spend that money, whether it's on more staff or more time or whatever, but that's what we'd like to do. So for those involved today, I'd like to thank you again very much for your time. I'd like to thank Sarah for having us to present to you today. I'm happy to take questions if there are any. And for those of you who want to take us up on this offer, then these are our contact details. So you can either let Sarah know, drop them in the chat, drop us an email at sales@altushealthcare.co.uk, or give me a call on my mobile number, which is on the screen there.
Well, Graham, thank you so much for that. As you know, we've recorded this. I will send it out to all participants so that they can review it